Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I've got Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about BEAU is AFRAID.
BEAU is AFRAID!
Yep. The latest film by Ari Aster, who some of you may know, or most of you probably know, is the director of Midsommar and Hereditary. And this is his third film, his junior film.
It is the most Ari Aster.
It is the most Ari Aster.
Ari
In many
Aster.
ways, this is kind of the magnum opus.
This has apparently been a movie that he has been trying to make for like the past decade.
Absolutely. This is the biggest budget he's worked with, the longest movie he's ever made.
Hollywood stars in it.
It has a ton of Hollywood stars in it. You got Nathan Lane shows up, Richard Kind shows up, Parker Posey shows up, Joaquin Phoenix
is the main guy. He's BEAU.
Absolutely. Once again, Joaquin Phoenix proving he is the best actor to call if you need a lead character who's going through a nonstop mental breakdown. He's the guy you call.
Yeah, there's no better.
Absolutely. You could call it a horror movie. You could call it an art film. You can call it many things, but at the end of the day, what it is it's an odyssey through this character BEAU's personal trauma and tragedy.
Yeah, it has horrific moments.
Yeah, it has many horrific moments. It's kind of an adventure film, but like in the most like abstract way possible.
Well, yeah, this is an adventure film in the way that Jodorowsky does an adventure film.
Exactly.
Where you're just sort of like, whoa, where the connective tissue is the metaphor rather than the plot.
Which actually leads into something that I want to make very clear about this film. This film is extremely surreal and abstract, but at the same time, it has a very clear focus and point.
Yeah, it's the definition of an art film, in my opinion.
Everything that happens in this film is either a metaphor or a representation of something that means something in the meta of the movie, as in, like, as a viewer.
Yeah.
But
we move from the literal to the fantastic and metaphorical with the ease of a David Lynch story, but far more cues about what part of what is where.
David Lynch is actually a great comparison because, like a David Lynch film, it gets weirder and weirder as it goes on.
Yeah.
But unlike a David Lynch film, the point is clearer and clearer as it goes on.
Yeah, it becomes much more obvious what's happening, and you don't have to do quite as much mental detective work.
No, not at all, especially if you clue into basically what's going on in the movie pretty early on. Which, again, is that this is a movie about a character's mental breakdown.
Yeah, and probably the biggest difference between this and a David Lynch movie is a David Lynch movie will play hide-and-go-seek with the plot.
Yeah.
This doesn't play hide-and-go-seek with the plot.
No, it doesn't in the slightest. In the tradition of the Ari Aster films, this is once again a film about domestic abuse. Midsommar was more spousal domestic abuse. This is more parental domestic abuse. Much more similar to Hereditary.
Yeah.
But way more fantastical, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It has a fairy tale element rather than a satanic panic element to it.
When I say this movie is an odyssey through BEAU's trauma, I mean that quite literally, to the point where the story beats in this movie do match story beats from the Odyssey, the epic poem.
Yeah, he is Odysseus.
Yeah, he is essentially Odysseus, but instead of being like the hero returning back from the war, he is the traumatic victim returning back to the home in which he was abused.
Yeah.
Or at least trying to get there.
Yeah, all the major aspects are there if you know how to look for them.
Yes.
The Island of the Lotus Eaters, the Siren, the Cyclops.
There's a Cyclops figure, yes. There is an angry god figure, which we'll talk more about when we get to the spoiler section, but you can kind of figure what it is based on what we've said so far.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out who the angry god is.
Exactly.
It's not as one-to-one the Odyssey is, say, like, "Oh brother, where art thou?"
No, it is not. The "Oh brother, where art thou" is much more literally.
Yeah. It uses the exact plot. It just makes the weird shit like stuff that you would find in the 20s.
Exactly. Whereas this is taking the story structure of the Odyssey, but telling a completely different journey.
Yeah.
A much more tragic and dark, and I am going to give all the trigger warnings journey when it comes to domestic abuse, emotional abuse, PTSD, trauma, anxiety. This movie has it all.
Yeah, if you had childhood PSD due to a emotionally abusive mother, this is trigger warning the movie.
Without getting into the spoiler territory, I'm going to give you like a taste of what this movie's like. And it very much clues you into how this movie approaches BEAU's trauma. So the first thing that's very clear about this movie is that it's 100% from BEAU's point of view. We're seeing the world through the lens of his anxiety and trauma.
Yeah, we're seeing not only what is happening to him, but how it feels to him.
Exactly. For example, this movie opens up with him in a big city. This is before he starts his journey home. And just walking through the streets of the city, there is a danger lurking around every corner.
Yeah, and it's every danger that you are told about a city within a single city block.
There's people being mugged. There's someone jumping out of a building and dying. Just a random naked hobo stabbing people to death.
Yeah, there's a dead corpse that's just hanging out in the crosswalk that nobody pays attention to.
There's cops abusing people. And he is just trying to get home. And a man just randomly starts chasing him.
Yeah.
Now, is it literally happening in the movie? Yes, because the movie is taking this hyper reality at face value.
Yeah.
But on a meta context, this is what it's like to walk through a city with an extreme anxiety when you're on the verge of a panic attack.
Yeah.
It's everything everyone ever warns you about when going to the city, especially like your conservative mother or your grandmother is like, oh, be careful. They'll want to steal your cell phone. You know, that shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You're like, why would they steal? Everyone's got a cell phone. Why would they steal yours?
Yeah.
You know, like, who are you? You know?
And we get to witness this. And yes, like they all look weird too. Like you have a guy just head to toe in tattoos. And one of my favorite moments in the movie happens really early on. And it kind of clues you into how much of this movie really is a representation of BEAU's anxiety and breakdown. Is there's a point in which he gets locked out of his apartment building. And when he leaves the apartment, all the threats are on the street like they normally are.
Yeah.
But while he's out of the building and when he gets locked out, all of a sudden, all those people that were in the street leave the street and end up in his apartment having a party, damaging everything in his apartment. Now, is this literally happening in the movie? Yes. However, on a meta level, this is like showing how his anxiety has moved from the street into his apartment because he can no longer get in there. So now his anxiety is running wild.
Yeah. The whole movie has a very demented, Looney Tunes fucking Ralph Bakshi kind of quality to it.
And that's the other aspect of this movie. I gave all the trigger warnings because yes, this movie gets intense and it's tragic and it's dark and it's hard to watch at times, but it's also fucking hilarious.
Yeah, this is an interesting movie because, like, if you had animated it, it would have had the exact same emotional resonance.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not normal. Normally, the animation itself provides its own resonance, but this one, it would work either way as long as you stuck to the same story.
And I think a lot of people would probably understand what's happening in the movie better if it was animated.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way, when you do animation, you often create a heightened reality to represent what you're going to represent.
Yeah, you're already in an emotionally heightened reality in an animation.
Exactly. Like, that latest Puss in Boots movie, the way they represented Puss in Boots' panic attacks in that movie, super heightened reality version where the literal, like, world around him is hyperventilating with him at times.
Yeah,
like, this movie does stuff like that, but live action.
Yeah, well, like, one of the details of that movie is that even though you only see stuff when he's in a panic attack in flashes, each one of those frames is actually hyper detailed and rendered.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know?
Which is kind of like this movie.
Yes.
Like the background extras aren't just background extras because they're all threats to him, right?
Yeah.
So we get good looks at them. They're also closer to the camera at most times.
So it induces anxiety.
As opposed to just being in the background, they're often like where you would normally stage like a main character, and he's closer than that because the threats are encroaching on him, right? At least in his mind.
We could just go on about the camera work in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's fucking gorgeous. Like, I contend that this is Ari Aster's best film to date, and I say this as a huge fan of both of his previous works.
Yeah. Oh, man, you know a director that this really, really reminds me of?
Yeah.
Satoshi Kon.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah. It really feels like a Satoshi Kon film.
It feels more like Satoshi Kon than Darren Aronofsky's adaptations of Satoshi Kon.
Yes.
And he more directly steals stuff from Satoshi Kon.
But this one got into, hey, if we heighten reality like an animation, we can do that weird cutting that Satoshi Kon does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, this movie does get weirder and weirder as it goes on. And that's where you start off. And then by the end of the movie, you have like full sequences of BEAU walking through like an animated reality.
Yeah.
Like just
and the frame rate changes once that happens.
Oh yeah, completely.
All this stuff. It's great.
Like, it gets fucking weird. Now, I will warn you, it is a 3-hour movie.
Oh yeah, this is not.
It's a journey.
Yeah,
it's a journey.
If you can go through a Fellini flick, this is going to be no problem.
Yeah.
If you can go through a Jodorowsky flick, this ain't going to be a problem.
No.
But oh my God, is this a long movie?
Fellini's actually a great example. One movie that this actually reminded me a lot is 8.5.
Yes. Yeah.
BEAU has just about every anxiety you could possibly have, and it is in large part as a result of the way he was raised.
Oh, yeah.
The abuse he suffered while he was a kid transferred into all his adult anxieties. It was not like he was being hit all the time.
Oh, no.
It's the manipulation
his
games.
Spirit is being broken.
Yeah, it's the manipulation tactics and the gaslighting. The lies that he was being told was to manipulate him to be a certain way.
Yeah.
To behave a certain way. And he does, but then that's not good enough when he's an adult now.
Yeah.
Now he has to be a man, but he was never raised to be a man.
Yeah, he wasn't raised to be so. And everything that he could have used as a child to develop those skills has been hobbled.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's really super obvious. Let me put it this way. When he starts talking to his mom, if you have any of that trauma, your immediate reaction is going to be, this is fucking motherfucking
Yeah,
fucking bitch.
that's the thing. I've read some people's thoughts on this movie, and I think a large part of how well you'll enjoy this movie is A, how much you can relate to BEAU, which will make it hard to watch, but it'll also make the movie really fucking good. Mm-hmm. And B, how much you understand the actual dynamic at play, because they present it at the very beginning, the dynamic between him and his mother, the way it appears to the outside world.
Yeah, because these manipulating people are very good.
Yeah.
The successful ones are very good at manipulating that appearance. That
Exactly.
private appearance.
So it starts off with, it appears like the mom's not doing anything and BEAU's just overreacting. But as the movie goes on, it becomes very clear that he's not overreacting. That this is a conditioned behavior, and she's the one who conditioned him into it.
He has been trained to do this.
So it's about mommy issues.
Oh yeah,
but this is about like some legit raw mommy issues. Like we're not just talking like mom didn't support me going to art school mommy issues. We're talking about mom psychologically abused me from the moment I was born issues.
Yeah. If you had to be whatever it was your mom wanted you to be, you're gonna get this movie.
Yes.
What's the other part of that? Well, what she wants you to be at a given moment changes.
Yes, because it's whatever her whims are.
Yeah.
And she is not very stable herself.
No. One of the most disturbing parts of the movie is where you start going, is there a sexual component to this? And
could be.
And the thing is, that question of, wait a minute, what's actually going on here?
Yeah.
Is always there.
Yep.
What is it you want from me?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
what is this?
What is this?
What are you trying to do? Are you trying to mold me into being the person my father couldn't be? Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
And even then, is this actually how you want me to be? Of course not, because you're mad at me for being this way. So,
yeah, so what is
it? You may be this way, you know? The other thing about this movie is I've read a lot of people talking about it who say that the movie's unfocused. I disagree.
What? No, it's super focused.
I think this movie's hyper-focused. Like, it's very clear what's going on. And the stuff that feels like it comes out of nowhere makes sense by the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
If you're sitting there during any section wondering, what does this have to do with what's going on? It will start to make more sense by the time you get to the last section.
Yeah.
Things will all come together.
Ari Aster does this really good trick throughout the movie in which basically he's constantly giving you these little synopses of the plot as the plot unfolds so that you will recognize it by the time you get there.
Yes.
This is gonna be one for any list of 100 greatest movies.
Oh, yeah.
Or 100 worst movies.
Some people are going to feel that way about it. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the greatest.
Oh, me too.
Like, this is...
Me too. But then again, I think some of those 100 worst movies are some of the greatest.
True. Good point. Just watching it the one time, I was catching so many little tiny things that ended up paying off to bigger things later on.
Yeah.
Right? So I can only imagine watching it a second time, a third time, watching it with director's commentary, what that's going to reveal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This is Ari Aster Unleashed, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
He was given a near bottomless budget, though I don't think he actually spent a lot on it. But like, compared to like a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Not nearly as much as a Marvel movie, but definitely more than like Midsommar.
Yeah.
You know?
For a art house film like this, which is 100% an art house film, he was given a pretty big budget and allowed to go buck wild with what he wanted.
Yeah, and everyone just fires on all cylinders.
It's that feeling of like Hereditary and Midsommar were definitely his movies.
Oh, yeah.
But this felt like, I did two for you, now one for me.
Like, yeah. Like this is why when we opened up, I said, I think this is the most airy.
Yes, because he's not even trying to be commercial here. It's
Correct.
raw artistic expression.
Yeah.
And everyone in the movie, all the actors, the set decorators, the score, it's all firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So BEAU is Afraid is currently available to rent on various streaming platforms. It's still like theatrical pricing because like when I was looking at it, it was still $20. You're gonna have to pay for it, but it's totally worth it. In my opinion, it's one of the best movies of the year. It's the best Ari Aster film, and I'm saying this as someone who thinks all his films are masterpieces at this point. So definitely check it out. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers. The movie's all about BEAU trying to get back to his mom's house, the house he was raised in, because his mom has died.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make it back to the funeral. But along the way, shit keeps happening.
Yeah.
At one point, he ends up getting like captured by this person who hit him with a car, who nurses him back to health, but then is clearly trying to like keep him as their surrogate son.
Yeah.
Obviously, clearly loosely based upon the Circe sequence from the Odyssey.
Yes. Yeah. It's not only the Circe sequence, it's also the Cyclops.
Yes. They're all kind of mashed in there.
A couple of things in there. Yeah.
And he ends up at one point in the middle of this forest with these theater performers who perform a play of like an alternate version of his life.
Yeah.
That could have been.
That could have happened.
But even ends up ending in darkness because even in the happy play that's being presented there, his own anxiety starts to take over by the end of it. And the other thing is that throughout this entire movie, we've been getting flashbacks to various moments in his childhood.
Yeah.
Some of which are happy, but then when we see more of the flashbacks later on, they're less happy.
Yeah, I gotta warn you right now. Every time you think it's gonna end, it doesn't.
It keeps going. It keeps going.
This is like a 5-act movie.
Yes. It is 100% 5 acts.
Yeah, because it's Odyssey, right?
Yeah, exactly. And eventually, over the course of this journey, does make it back home. And the funeral's already taken place, and his mom's in the casket. And there's all these, like, memorials to his mom throughout the house.
Yeah.
Which immediately tells you, like, how weirdly egotistical she is, even in death.
Oh, dude. Yeah, completely narcissistic.
Absolutely. So, the big reveal is... And this is after he confronts the suitor, which is his suitor. Which is a girl he liked when he was a kid and always said he was saving himself for. His mom reveals herself, and she's alive.
Yeah.
And she faked the entire death in order to prove that he doesn't care about her.
Yep.
Now, here's a very important thing to understand about this. You also learn throughout this movie and through this sequence that the mom is rich and powerful. She's the head of a big corporation. And she basically owns and controls everything BEAU has. She owns the apartment building he lived in at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
She controls his money. She owns his psychiatrist, who was there at the beginning of the movie, prescribed him this one drug, and then reveals himself to have been working with her the whole time and revealing all of their sessions to her.
Yeah.
Which 90% of them are about her. Other things in the movie start to make sense at this point because the whole Nathan Lane sequence when he is captured by this doctor and his family and basically trying to be kept as a surrogate replacement for their dead son. If you're watching that sequence wondering like, what does that have to do with everything else? Hold on. Remember the scene in which the mom revealed to him that he's being recorded and watched.
Yeah.
Now, if you thought...
not his own mother, but the mother of the house that's taking care
of that house. Now, think about it. They established that mom works for some major corporation.
Yeah.
Shareholders.
Some major pharmaceutical corporation. His mom is known to run one, and the dad is doctor.
So who do you think was watching him the whole time? Also, a point earlier in the movie when he's trying to pay for a plane ticket to go see her after he misses his first plane, and the mom gets mad at him for not making that first plane because someone stole his keys so he couldn't lock his door and he didn't feel right leaving his door unlocked. Yeah. He can't buy the plane ticket because his card's being rejected.
Yeah.
Now think about it. Who owns his money? Who controls his money?
His mom owns his money.
His mom controls his money. She turned off his credit card so he couldn't buy the ticket.
Yeah.
She is the boss of the people.
Yeah.
She set him up for failure.
Yeah, she totally sets him up for failure because if he loved her enough, he would get through it.
He only failed this fucking quest because she isn't the beautiful, loving mom she presents her as, who supports her son and makes sure he has all this money and wealth and stuff so that he can live his life the way he wants to. She is the angry, controlling god that he angers.
Yeah. She's not fucking Penelope. She's fucking Poseidon.
Yeah, she's Poseidon.
Yeah.
She's the angry god that
Which
he has
is why
angered.
he ends up in a boat at the end.
Yes. He angered her by not living up to her expectations and being who she believes he should be, but he can't because of the way she raised him.
Yep.
She raised him to be afraid of everything as a method of controlling him. Oh, that's going to give you cancer if you eat it. Oh, if you have sex, you're going to have a heart attack like your dad.
Yeah.
That keeps him away from other women and things like that so she can maintain control, a stranglehold over his life.
Yep.
And the suitor, the girl that he liked on that cruise that he said he was going to save himself for, she works for his mom. So even her showing up at the end of the funeral and having sex with him in that bed was part of the mom's plan to prove that he doesn't love her. She manipulated the whole thing, which shows you how much of an abusive cunt she is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not getting into the fact that we see through some of the flashbacks that she has basically, like, at times locked him away.
Like, locked him away in the attic.
Which is done in this really beautiful way, because in the movie, it's presented like he has this twin brother. But what's cool about that is that it's not really a twin brother. What it really is him disassociating.
Yeah, what that is all of his desires to rebel.
You get this cool scene where he's watching as he's being thrown up there. And what's being thrown up there is literally his twin brother, but what is metaphorically happening is all his rebellious spirit.
Yeah.
All his masculinity, all his stuff that he could use to protect himself is being thrown up there. And it's also being kept up there with the dad.
With the dad. The attic clearly is basically BEAU entering his mother's mind. Mm-hmm. What's going up there is some psychotic shit.
Yeah, there's a giant penis monster.
Yeah.
And that's the dad, which what I like about that is it shows what the dad represents to both the mom and BEAU. The dad was never really there for BEAU. So as far as he's concerned, he's just a penis that went into my mom.
Yeah, he did meet a guy who might have been his dad.
The one played by Death from Supernatural.
Yeah, Julian Richings.
Yes.
Yeah, he might have been his dad, but he doesn't get to find out.
Yes, and you're also not sure how much of that scene was in his head.
Yeah, because all the shit that's going on.
It's the most surreal scene. It's like the peak of the high, right?
Yeah. It's like he might be there.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
And it's also part of the sequence where they're showing the life that could have been. The other thing as it shows is that to the mom, the dad is just a giant dick.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just a sperm donor.
Which also shows why she pushes any masculine traits out of her son.
Yep.
I'm sorry. People who tell me this movie doesn't make sense. No, it makes perfect sense.
No, 100% perfect sense.
I have seen Black Moon. I have seen art house films that have no point.
Oh,
this has a very clear, concise point. All the metaphors are very clear. And the stuff that you're kind of iffy on and not sure about, if you think about long enough, they'll start to make sense. Things will start to fall in place.
Yeah, like, you can't compare this to Black Moon. Black Moon is literally designed so that it does feel like a dream, in that when you wake up, i.e. the movie's over, you go, what the hell was that?
It's also more clear and concise with what it's doing and what its point is than like a David Lynch film.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not playing hide and seek with the plot.
No, not at all.
Like, BEAU is Afraid is constantly reminding you, okay, this is the plot. We're reminding you this because there's a lot of weird shit going on.
Yeah.
So you might have forgotten because that just happened.
Absolutely. And so I guess the final thing to talk about is how this movie ends. Because this movie's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It is a tragedy. So the movie ends with BEAU strangling his mother, which, good for him.
Good for him.
She fucking deserved that.
Yeah, it's his only option.
Well, she controls everything about his life. There is no escape.
Yeah.
There is no choice if he wants to be his own self. But the problem is, by doing that, he's now racked with guilt because he has now finally actually done something to his mom.
Yeah.
So this leads into a scene where he basically gets on a boat to go out to sea, and then we enter what I can only describe as his mind trial.
Yeah, that bit in Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah, where he has now taken control of everything and he has done something truly terrible to his mom. And there's that brief moment of freedom from the mom, like going out to sea, but then that's immediately taken away by the guilt, by the voices in your head, one of which represents the mom and one of which represents him. And this is presented like a trial.
Yeah, so they are literally represented by a prosecutor and a defender.
Yeah, so there's his mom, who has an attorney played by Richard Kind.
Yes.
Which
God.
When I heard his voice on the phone, I was hoping he would show up in the actual movie, and he did.
Yeah, he just plays such a great bastard.
And the scene does a really good job of showing what it's like when you are crippled with anxiety and depression and you are blaming yourself for something. Because you have the voice that that represents the mom screaming as loud as it can, and you can hear it clearly. It's loud, it's clear. The volume's up to the point where it's like an explosion.
Yeah.
In terms of like decibels.
Yeah.
And then there's the voice representing him.
The defense.
And you can barely hear it. It's at a distance.
Even though he's yelling as loud as he can, you can barely hear it.
You can barely hear it. It's at a distance. It's too far away. And then eventually they just straight up kill it.
Yeah.
And the defense is gone. When this happens, BEAU essentially gives up and is consumed by the water and drowned. Basically consumed by his own guilt, his own anxiety, his own depression, and the trauma. It basically ends him. Now, does he literally die out to sea? I don't know, but in his head he's dead.
Yeah.
Even if he's not literally dead, he's mentally dead.
Yeah.
Even if you were laughing your ass off throughout the entire movie, like I was, because it's genuinely funny, that scene hits you and you're just like, I need a hug.
Yeah, because like you really want him to come out with a win.
Yes,
you know, just even if it's a little one, but no, like from the beginning, it was never possible.
But what I love about that ending is that it shows that even in the event of her truly being gone and dead, she still is controlling him.
Yep, that's the whole point. Yeah,
I have never seen a movie so perfectly encapsulate mentally what it's like to be a victim of an abusive household like this.
Yeah, because the level of gaslighting is truly epic, but that's what it feels like because it's a parent. That parent controls your fucking world.
And the gaslighting's so strong, you start gaslighting yourself.
Yep.
You start lying to yourself.
Yep.
So we haven't gone through every single detail from this movie, but hopefully if you have seen the movie, hopefully it makes more sense to you now.
Yeah.
Because like this movie was very clear for me.
Yeah, that's super clear. But like this is one of those like, if you need a little help, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
It is a dense movie. And by dense, I mean like a lot of stuff is happening. It is a long movie. And it's also one of those really long movies where I find myself going, you couldn't cut a frame.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Like, I think it's perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, BEAU is Afraid is a fucking masterpiece, and I'm gonna scream it at the top of my goddamn lungs for as long as people will listen.
I do not expect to see a better movie this year.
No, I don't think
I just don't.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube. Look up Count Jackula and you'll find me. I stream here 2-3 times a week. Tends to be around 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please subscribe, hit the notification button because I would love to see y'all there. And you can follow me on Twitter for as long as that lasts.
Yep.
At Counting Jack. And you can find me on TikTok at Real Count Jackula. You see this face? See this hair, you know it's me.
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages, and remember, if you go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. If you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag DickDad. Use the hashtag DickDad, that way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you are attracted to giant penis monsters.
Yeah.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out.
Pull up a chair, deep in the crib, from a blood red chalice, you must take a sip. Sit right back for a flick, see gore and entrails and slimy Welcome, you gorehounds, the beating, dripping ooze. Welcome to the lair of the horror guru. Watch real close.